بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. Inshallah, today we will present to all of you about one of the greatest scholar in Islam, in the Islamic studies, which is Imam At-Tirmidhi. And now, my book consists me myself, Muhammad Akil Arham bin Asri, Muhammad Zikrin Naim bin Nazari, and the last one is Muhammad Shamir bin Ghani. طيب، نحن نواصل إلى المقرر في هذا اليوم، يعني background of Imam Tirmidhi, the scholars who praise the Imam Tirmidhi, the methodology of Imam Tirmidhi himself, Imam Tirmidhi's teachers and his students, and books by Imam Tirmidhi، يعني الكتب من الإمام الترمذي، وأخيرا conclusion يعني الخاتمة من الدروس. طيب، أولا biography of Imam Tirmidhi. His full name is Muhammad bin Isa bin Sawrah bin Musa bin Ad-Dahhak At-Tirmidhi Al-Bughi As-Sulami, from the well-known Arab tribe of Sulaim ibn Mansur. He is the compiler of the well-known book of Hadith, yani Jami' At-Tirmidhi, which is distinguished by a Tirmidhi unique approach of the classification and verification of Hadith. And Imam Tirmidhi is one of the outstanding scholars of Hadith who spent their life in narrating and verifying the Hadith of Prophet Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Amr bin Anad said, when Muhammad bin Ismail al-Bukhari died, he did not leave behind everyone in Khurasan like Abu Isa, yani Imam Tirmidhi himself, in terms of knowledge and God-fearing. So, Imam Tirmidhi هو العلماء في الإسلام، وهو رجال عقل السليم وحفظ حفظ القوة، يعني he can remember the things. He can remember the things with a very good remembering. Inshallah, نحن نلتقي إلى الترمذي birth and early life, kehidupan awal ataupun lahirnya Imam Tirmidhi dan awal hidup dia. Abu Isa was born in the beginning of 209 in Tirmidh, now Surgandaryo region in Uzbekistan. His grandfather was from Mark. Scholars differ whether he was born blind or not, but the correct view is that he was not born like that. So, but he lost his eyesight in his old age because of his abundant study of hadith. Jadi Imam At-Tirmidhi ini dilahirkan pada awal 209 Hijrah, yang mana dilahirkan di Tirmiz, sekarang adalah wilayah daerah Surgandaryo di Uzbekistan. Datuknya pula berasal dari Mar. Para scholar ataupun ulama berbeza pendapat sama ada dilahirkan dalam keadaan beliau dia kala buta ataupun tidak. Tetapi hakikatnya ataupun pandangan yang rajih, yang paling tepat adalah beliau tidak dilahirkan sebegitu, iaitu dalam keadaan buta, tetapi beliau kehilangan uh, eyesight beliau, iaitu kelihatan pada usia beliau tua, kerana kajian hadisnya yang banyak, iaitu sehingga membaca dengan banyak sehingga menyebabkan beliau sendiri buta. Ibn Kathir said it appears from the state of At-Tirmidhi that blindness happened to him after he traveled his hadith, wrote, argued, and compiled hadith book. Abu Isa was exceptionally distinguished by his matchless capacity of memorizing hadith. Jadi Ibn Kathir sendiri berkata yang Imam At-Tirmizi ini buta setelah melakukan perjalanan mendengar hadis, menulis, berdebat dan jidal dan menyusun buku-buku hadis. Dan Abu Isa ini terkenal dengan kemampuannya ataupun kekuatannya dalam menghafal hadis-hadis. Jadi berdasarkan apa yang Ibn Kathir kata, kita boleh simpulkan bahawa Imam Tirmizi ini tidak dilahirkan dalam keadaan buta, tetapi beliau kehilangan penglihatannya pada ketika usia beliau sudah pun tua. And the last one is Imam At-Tirmizi devoted his whole life for learning and studying hadith. He traveled a lot and learned under the greatest school of hadith, such as Imam Al-Bukhari, who left a great effect upon our scholar Imam Abu Isa At-Tirmizi. Jadi Imam At-Tirmizi ini telah mengabdikan seluruh hidupnya untuk belajar dan mempelajari hadis. Dia banyak pergi belajar dari ulama-ulama yang hebat, yang power seperti Imam Al-Bukhari, yang banyak influenskan, banyak berkesan besar kepada kehidupan ataupun pada life Imam Tirmizi sendiri. طيب نواصل إلى الترمذي pursuit of knowledge. Imam At-Tirmizi was bent on learning hadith. He traveled to numerous places and narrated hadith from many persons. He traveled to Al-Hijaz, Basra, Kufah, Baghdad, Ar-Ray, and Khorasan. Al-Hafiz Al-Mizi said he toured the cities and he heard from a great of number from Khorasan, Iraq, Al-Hijaz, and other places. It is narrated that he took hadith from more than 200 narrators of hadith. So we can see the number of narrators of hadith. It is quite big. So we can see the juhud from Imam Tirmizi that he took and loved the hadith from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The next one is the numerous journeys of Imam At-Tirmizi helped him get high isnad, chain of narrators. Yang bermakna Imam Tirmizi ini dapat sanad hadis itu sanad yang paling tinggi sekali. And the last one, he took hadis from some of the teachers of both Imam Al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim. The teachers of Imam Al-Bukhari that Muslim did not narrate from, and the teachers of Imam Muslim that Imam Bukhari did not narrate from. طيب, next, not only that, he narrated hadith from 42 narrators, that the five imams of hadith, yani Imam Al-Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Abu Dawud, Imam An-Nasa'i, and Imam Ibn Majah did not narrate from. Also, he narrated hadith along with 5 scholars of hadith, yani Imam Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, An-Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, from the same 9 narrators of hadith. Hadith was not the sole knowledge that Imam Tirmizi acquired. He was an encyclopedic scholar, and he was versed in other branches of knowledge such as fiqh, uh, Islamic history, Arabic language, and other science, يعني العلوم أخرى. He was renowned from his excellent understanding and deduction of the fiqh rulings from hadith. The great scholar Abu Hassan al-Nadawi said he, yani Imam Tirmizi, was the first of broach what is called nowadays comparative fiqh, and he had great merit that the Muslim community has done. His effort have saved a lot of the Islamic heritage of the schools of fiqh from loss. Jadi Imam Abu Hassan al-Nadawi berkata, dia ini, yakni Imam At-Tirmizi adalah orang yang pertama membicarakan isu yang disebut sekarang sebagai fiqh perbandingan, dan beliau juga mempunyai jasa yang sangat besar yang harus diakui oleh semua masyarakat Muslim, dan usahanya, yakni usaha beliau dalam bidang ini telah menyelamatkan banyak daripada warisan Islam dan mazhab fiqh dari kerugian. And the last one, the saddest moment of the history of Islam is Wafatul Imam Tirmizi. After life replete with knowledge seeking, traveling for narrating hadith and teaching and explaining about hadith, Imam Tirmizi passed away on Monday, 13th of Rajab at 279 Hijrah in Bukh, village lies in his hometown Tirmiz at the age of 68. Jadi Imam Tirmizi setelah menjalani kehidupan yang syarat dengan perjalanan ilmu, perjalanan untuk meriwayatkan hadis, mengajar hadis, serta explainkan dan menjelaskan hadis, Imam Tirmizi akhirnya meninggal dunia pada hari Isnin 13 Rejab 279 Hijrah di Bukh, sebuah kampung yang terletak di kampung halamannya sendiri, iaitu Tirmiz, pada umur beliau sekitar umur 68 tahun. And the last segment from the background of Imam At-Tirmizi is the scholars who praise Imam Tirmizi. Abu Sa'id al-Idrisi said, Muhammad ibn Isa At-Tirmizi, the blind memorizer of hadith, is one of the leading scholars of the knowledge of hadith. He compiled the book of Jami' At-Tawarikh and Al-Ilal in a proficient and scientific way. He was an example of the memorization of hadith. Ibn al-Athir al-Jazari said he was one of the prominent memorizers scholars of hadith. Also, he was well informed of fiqh. And Ibn Kathir said Tirmidhi was one of the imams of this method, hadith at his time. And the last one from Al-Hafiz Abu Al-Hajjaj Al-Mizzi said yani At-Tirmidhi was one of the prominent memorizing imam of hadith by whom Allah has benefited the Muslim. Jadi banyak ulama-ulama yang memuji kehebatan Imam Tirmizi ini dari segi hafalan beliau, dari segi macam mana cara beliau menghimpunkan kitab-kitab hadis dan sebagainya.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ana Muhammad Syamil Muhammad Ghanim. So insyaallah ana سأشرح عن الموضوع منهج Imam Tirmizi or methodology of Imam Tirmizi. Baik. Uh, untuk yang pertama, we will go to the term of Imam Tirmizi. Jadi, the hadith in Sunan Tirmizi has various stages. First, hadith sahih that meets the requirement of Bukhari and Muslim. Dalam Sunan Tirmizi ada juga hadis-hadis yang mencapai requirement Imam Bukhari dan juga Imam Muslim. Two, sahih hadis which does not meet the condition of Bukhari and Muslim but achieve the condition of sahih according to the condition of other muhaddisin. Ada hadis yang tidak capai requirement Imam Bukhari dan juga Imam Muslim, akan tetapi mencapai requirement muhaddisin yang lain. Jadi Imam Tirmizi sertakan juga dalam sunannya. Yang ketiga, hadis da'if which Imam Tirmizi stated illah. Hadis da'if yang beliau nyatakan illahnya. Sebagai contoh, hadis-hadis dia akan bagi tahu hadis ni, dia akan datangkan sebuah hadis dan dia akan daifkan hadis itu sendiri. Dia akan lepas dia letak sanad dan juga matan, dia akan bagi tahu, dia akan beri komentar terhadap hadis tu bahawa hadis ini sanadnya daif. Contoh hadis yang kita selalu dengar, hadis yang berkaitan dengan pembaca Al-Quran, penghafal Al-Quran. Mana-mana baca Al-Quran, hafal Al-Quran, dia akan halal perkara yang dihalalkan oleh Al-Quran, dia mengharamkan perkara yang diharamkan oleh Al-Quran, dia akan masuk syurga dan beri 10 syafaat ahli keluarga yang masuk neraka. Jadi hadis ni Imam Tirmizi masukkan dalam hadis dia, tapi dalam sunannya, tapi Imam Tirmizi buat komentar di hadis itu mengatakan sanad hadis ini adalah da'if. Itu yang pertama. Dan dia akan beritahu hadis hadzal hadis laisa bis sahih. Sesungguhnya hadis ini tidak sahih. Jadi dia akan kritik atau beri komentar, juga menyatakan ilah dia, seperti dia beri komentar tentang perawi. Sebagai contoh, wa Hafs yudda'a bil hadis. Hafs bin Sulaiman, dia perawi hadis. Ini adalah perawi yang daif dalam hadis. Jadi kita bila mana nak baca Sunan Tirmizi, kita kena hati-hati. Kerana dalam Sunan Tirmizi ada juga hadis daif, tapi dia akan beri komentar bahawa hadis ini adalah hadis yang daif. Jadi kita tak boleh sembrono dalam hadis Imam Tirmizi mana sebut ni. Jadi tak semua ikut requirement Imam Bukhari dan juga Imam Muslim. Kita kena tahu tujuan imam, tujuan kitab-kitab ni, tujuan imam, dia punya manhaj, metodologi, penyusunan mereka punya kitab. Yang keempat, hadis used by scholars as the basis of evidence in the law of fiqh. This means that Imam Tirmizi condition is quite broad. That is, he will put in his sunan every hadis practiced by the fuqaha, whether it is sahih or not. Dia akan bawa hadis-hadis yang telah diguna oleh fuqaha, ahli-ahli fiqh, imam-imam fiqh, sama ada hadis tu sahih atau tidak. Dia tak kisah hadis tu sahih ke ataupun tidak, asalkan hadis tu diguna pakai oleh fuqaha dalam perbincangan fiqh, dia akan masukkan dalam Sunan Tirmizi. Seterusnya, hadis selection metodologi pemilihan hadis. Yang pertama, Imam Tirmizi also made the narrator student into 5 rank, namely first, second and third, to be included in Sunan. Dalam Sunan Tirmizi, dia akan letak martabat yang pertama, kedua, ketiga sebagai usul. Keempat, dia akan letakkan keempat dan dia akan nyatakan status hadis tu dalam sunannya. Jadi 1, 2, 3 itu sebagai usul untuk dia berhujah dengannya. Yang keempat dan kelima, dia akan jadikan hadis itu sebagai sokongan. Jadi nak lihatkan, bandingkan dia dengan Imam Bukhari dan Muslim, Sunan Tirmizi ni dia punya pemilihannya lebih luas. Yang kedua, he also sometimes chose the narrator of the fourth rank, and he would state the status of the hadith in his sunnah, macam saya kata tadi. Dan seterusnya is he also narrated from majhul and da'if narrator, and he stated the reason of his weakness. Dia akan ambil narrated, riwayatkan hadis-hadis majhul dan da'if, dan dia akan komen macam saya kata tadi. Baik. Privilege of Sunan Tirmizi. Keistimewaan Sunan Tirmizi. Baik. Al-A'taf and Al-Tahwil. He used the methods of Al-A'taf and Al-Tahwil to combine to sanad. It is like the method of Imam Muslim. Jadi setengah para ulama Magharibah dia mengatakan Imam Muslim ni lebih baik daripada Imam Bukhari, bukan dari sudut kesahihannya, tapi dari sudut penyusunan Imam Muslim itu lebih cantik, lebih teratur. Jadi mereka meletakkan Imam Muslim terdahulu baru Imam Bukhari, setengah ulama. Tapi dari sudut kesahihan yang sebenarnya hadis Bukhari dulu dan juga hadis Muslim. Sunan Tirmizi mengambil the same method of Imam Muslim. Dia akan gabung sanad. Contoh, 3 orang guru, dia akan asingkan 3 orang guru. Contoh ada 3 orang guru, contohnya Qutaibah bin Said, dia akan gabungkan semua sanad tu, Qutaibah bin Said, dan dia akan menggunakan perkataan dan Qutaibah bin Said dan fulan, dan ketiga-tiga riwayat ini daripada fulan. Kalau dia sama guru, dia akan bagi tahu kalau sama guru Qutaibah bin Said dan fulan, dan ketiga-tiga riwayat ini datang daripada fulan. Kalau itu guru banyak. Jadi kalau guru tu contoh A, guru A, saya lah, contoh saya ambil dekat ustaz saya nama Ustaz Ikram. Ustaz Ikram ambil dengan seorang lagi guru untuk satu sanad ini. Seorang lagi guru namanya Mu'aiz. Okay, untuk satu sanad. Untuk satu lagi sanad lain tapi hadis yang sama, sanad yang lain. Contoh siapa? Jabir. Contoh Jabir. Jabir dia ambil juga guru ustaz saya lah. Dia ambil juga kepada Mu'aiz juga. Dia ambil Mu'aiz juga. Jadi ada 2 sanad, ada 2 guru. Dia ada 2 guru. Saya ada 2 guru, dan 2 guru ni bertembung pada satu tempat yang sama. Dia bertembung dengan Mu'aiz. Saya ada 2 guru. Guru saya Ustaz Ikram dan juga guru saya Jabir. Jabir dan siapa tadi? Ustaz Ikram tu dia bergabung, dia bertemu dengan Mu'aiz untuk guru yang sama. Jadi itulah adalah tahwil. Dalam Sunan Tirmizi, bila mana dia nak mengatakan hadis tu adalah dia ambil daripada yang saya katakan tadi, dia akan meletakkan dalam original Sunan Tirmizi, dia akan letakkan huruf ha di tengah-tengah sanad. Okey, saya ambil untuk guru saya Ustaz Ikram, untuk satu sanad Ustaz Ikram ambil kepada Mu'aiz satu sanad. Satu sanad yang lain saya belajar dengan Jabir ambil pada satu tempat yang sama, iaitu Mu'aiz. Jadi bertembung pada satu titik yang sama. Jadi tok guru saya kepada tok guru saya. Macam tu. Baik. He differs from the method of Imam Muslim when he introduced a hadith that has a defect and explain the defect. Baik. Yang kedua, privilege of Sunan Tirmizi. Dia akan menyebutkan 2 atau lebih sanad, kemudian menyatakan matannya selepas itu. Kalau ada hadis tu dia ada banyak sanad, dia akan beritahu 2, dia akan tulis. Okey, satu sanad, dia akan tulis satu sanad kedua, sanad ketiga, baru dia datangkan matan. Dan seterusnya menyebut satu sanad, mention one sanad for one matan. Kalau hadis tu ada satu sanad je, dia akan letak hadis full, letak sanad full, dan dia akan bagi matan. Ketiga, he hint at another sanad for the hadith, which mentioned it briefly without bringing it up in full. As he said after narrating the hadith with a full chain, Syu'bah narrated this hadith from Alqamah as well. Dia beliau mengisyaratkan sanad lain bagi hadis yang beliau riwayatkan. Maksud isyarat ialah beliau hanya menyebutnya secara ringkas tanpa membawakannya secara penuh. Ialah dia nak, kalau sebut penuh, hadis tu sama. Dia nak sebut penuh makan ruang. Jadi dia akan sebut sebagai contoh, Syu'bah meriwayatkan hadis ini dari Al-Qamah juga, tanpa menyebutkan secara penuh. Baik, yang terakhir, and the last one, alluding to another hadith for the same chapter as the hadith he narrated. Contoh, dia mengisyarat hadis lain bagi bab yang sama dengan hadis yang beliau riwayatkan. Contohnya, Imam Tirmizi meriwayatkan dengan sanad penuh bagi satu hadis. Kalau beliau akan isyaratkan terhadap hadis riwayat sahabat yang lain. Contoh, dalam hadis tu, hadis yang dia bawa tu, ada riwayat lain daripada sahabat-sahabat yang lain. Jadi dia akan mention selepas itu, sebagai contoh, dia akan mention lepas dia habis habis tulis, dia akan beritahu wa fil bab, dalam bab ini min Abi Hurairah wa Aisyah wa Jabir, sebagai contoh. Dia akan bagi tahu, dia akan mengisyaratkan wa fil bab an Abi Hurairah wa Jabir. Dia akan beritahu dalam bab ni ada riwayat lain juga. Jadi macam mana nak tahu hadis tu? Macam mana kita nak tahu hadis tu? Pergi cari sendirilah. Aku dah beritahu lah, contoh. Sunan Tirmizi dah beritahu. Aku beritahu dekat ni je. Pergi cari sendiri. Jadi I think that's all for the methodology of Imam Tirmizi. Yang baik daripada Allah, yang buruk daripada saya. Minta maaf atas kekurangan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Akil Arham bin Muhammad Sri. Now I will continue to the next part, which is Imam At-Tirmidhi's teachers. Usually a great person is born of a great teacher. Imam At-Tirmidhi has studied with many famous teachers and scholars. He was able to meet with great scholars in the field of hadith studies because at the time the science of hadith developed rapidly. This development has something to do with the movement that was started by Imam Shafi'i, 204 Hijrah, which has been known as Nasir as-Sunnah. Among the teachers that Imam At-Tirmidhi studied were Imam Bukhari, 256 Hijrah, Qutaybah bin Sa'id al-Madini, 240 Hijrah, Ishaq bin Rahweh, 238 Hijrah, and many others. The first teachers of Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Bukhari. Imam al-Bukhari was born on 13 Shawwal, 194 Hijrah in the city of Bukhara, in the eastern part of the state of Uzbekistan. His father died when he was a child, and his mother raised him alone. His mother cared for and educated him with kindness and sacrificed to give him the best education. At a young age, the intellectual value of Imam Bukhari was tested. He is very pious and has an extraordinary memory and has a seriousness in his studies. It is narrated that when he was a dozen years old, he had memorized 70,000 hadiths of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number 2 is Qutaybah bin Sa'id. Qutaybah ibn Sa'id ibn Jamil ibn Tarif al-Saqafi al-Balqi al-Baghlani, born in 149 Hijrah. Qutaybah was a teacher of famous figures, the compilers of the Sittah Pool, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasa'i, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, except Ibn Majah, were all his disciples. However, Ibn Majah also actually narrated from him only through an intermediary. Number 3 is Ishaq ibn Rahweh. Rahweh was the surname of his father, Abdul Hasan Ibrahim, and he was called such because he was born on the road to Makkah and wrote in Persian. Israh and Weh means to find, thus it means found in the road. He was an imam of famous mention from the people of Mau, a place in Nisabur. He was one whose statements and preferences were followed and sought after, and he was from the closest people to Ahmad bin Hanbal. He visited Baghdad more than once and was considered as among the Hufaz of its people. They are praiseworthy and returned to Khurasan and settled in Nisabur until he passed away there. His knowledge became predominant among the people of Khurasan. The next part is Imam At-Tirmidhi's students. After Imam At-Tirmidhi reached the peak in deepening the science of hadith, so that the scholars of his time acknowledged the height of his knowledge, including Imam Al-Bukhari himself, also acknowledged the height of his knowledge. Then many students of hadith came to study with him. Among the famous students of Imam At-Tirmidhi are Abu Hamid Ahmad bin Abdullah, Muhammad bin Mahbub, Abu Al-Abbas Al-Mahbubi, Ahmad bin Yusuf Al-Nasafi, and many others who studied with Imam At-Tirmidhi. I think that's all from me. Thank you for your cooperation. For the next section will be continued by my friends. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zikri Naim, and today I'm going to present about books by Imam At-Tirmidhi. And the first book that has been written by Imam At-Tirmidhi is Jami' At-Tirmidhi. As we all know, that Jami' At-Tirmidhi are famous in ulumul hadis. So, and Jami' At-Tirmidhi also known as Sunan At-Tirmidhi. But the full title of this book is Al-Jami' Al-Mukhtasar min Sunan an Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ma'rifatuhu as-sahih wal ma'lul wa ma alaihi al-a'mal. Jami' At-Tirmidhi is also is one of the book of six Kutubus Sittah, and the six major hadith collection. This book has been written fully by Imam At-Tirmidhi on 250 after Hijrah and finished in 10 Zulhijjah 270 Hijrah. The word Jami' is to indicate a complete collection covering all risalah from others imam, and the term Sunan within the title refers to the collection's focus and chapter arrangement based on particular risalah subject, ahkam and general law. Al-Qattani said about Jami' At-Tirmidhi, the Jami' of At-Tirmidhi is also named the Sunan, contrary to those thinking them to be two separate books, but it is actually a book only. And Jami' At-Tirmidhi contains about 3,956 hadith, but now roughly about 404,000, and have been divided into 50 chapters like purification, prayer, fasting, faith and marriage and others. And Imam At-Tirmidhi has narrated on this Jami' At-Tirmidhi on the authority of Islamic Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while the opinions of the companions are usually not mentioned. The method that have been used by Imam At-Tirmidhi in Jami' At-Tirmidhi is the first one, he will put the heading and followed by one or two hadith and his opinion and the status of the hadith. Imam At-Tirmidhi also mentions the opinions of the different scholar. He also indicates if there were other narrations transmitted by other companions on the same subject. And Imam At-Tirmidhi also mentioned those ahadith which the scholar used as the basis for their legal decision, and he mentioned which mazhab use the hadith. Hence, this book become an important source for the different viewpoints of the various legal school. Alright, there are some scholars that praise about this Jami' At-Tirmidhi. This book, the first one is Al-Hafiz Abu Al-Fadil Al-Maqdisi said, I heard Al-Imam Abu Ismail bin Abdullah bin Muhammad Al-Ansari in Harrah when Abu Isa At-Tirmidhi and his book was mentioned before him, saying, to me, his book is more useful than the books of Al-Bukhari and Al-Muslim. This is because the book of Al-Bukhari and Al-Muslim is quite hard to the book of Al-Bukhari and Muslim only can only arrive the benefit by those who are expert with ulumul hadith, but in this case book of Abu Isa At-Tirmidhi is much easier because every one of the people can attain its benefit. And the second one is Ibn Al-Attir said it is the best of books, having the most benefit, the best organization with the least repetition. It contains what others do not, like mention of the different views, angles of argument, and clarifying the circumstance of the hadith as being sahih, hasan, da'if, or gharib, as well as disparaging and endorsing remarks. Alright. Second book that also mashhur by the muhaddisin is Syama'il Muhammadiyah. Syama'il Muhammadiyah is Imam At-Tirmizi has started writing the Syama'il Muhammadiyah since 209 after Hijrah until 279 after Hijrah. And this book is about riwayat, is about the life of our Prophet Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, including his morals, his ethics, and his manners in Islam. This book contains about 399 riwayah and has been chapterized into 39 chapters. Okay, other books that have been written by Imam At-Tirmizi, Al-Ilal As-Sughra and Al-Ilal Al-Kubra, and also Al-Zuhdi, and the last one is Al-Asma wa Al-Kunna. So that's all from us. Thank you. Syukran ala musyahadatikum. Jazakumullah khairal jazak. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi